This longer and challenging class is designed to help you build a stronger handstand practice. Become more confident handstanding by using these techniques to strengthen the wrists as well as the core. Hello, welcome to Yoga Dose. My name is Cece, and today we have a class all about handstands. So I do recommend that you set up near a wall, especially if you're newer to handstands, and then just begin in child's pose with your arms extended forward and your head gently resting on the mat. Connect to your Ujjayi pranayama here, and then if you'd like to, take a side stretch by placing your right hand to the outside of your mat, stretching through the left side body, and then when you're ready, switch sides, taking your left hand to the left side of the mat, maybe even placing the right hand on top to deepen the stretch. It's important to warm up our shoulders here as we're going to be balancing on our hands. Another thing I like to do is to press my palms together behind my head, keeping the elbows on the ground, and this just stretches through the triceps. I really like this stretch. If you want to, you can interlace your fingers behind your back and lift your arms any amount. If your shoulders are feeling tight, you can always hook your thumbs and lift your arms any amount from there. Release that interlace and make your way onto your hands and knees. We'll begin to take some cat-cow movements, warming up the spine. On your inhales, you can lift the chin, lift the chest, arching the back. And on your exhales, round through the upper spine, draw the navel in, and tuck the chin towards the chest. Make sure your hands are shoulder distance apart, your knees hip distance. Move at your own pace, taking a few cat-cows. Notice how your body is feeling, how your spine is feeling. Now we're going to begin to warm up the wrists and stretch them out. I like to turn my fingers back towards my knees with the palms facing down, and then you can play around by shifting the hips back or forward to intensify the stretch. Be careful with your wrists here, not stretching them too deep right at the beginning. But it's very important to stretch your wrists if you're going to be doing a handstand practice. Now take your fingers towards each other with the top of the hands placed on the mat. You can stretch here or begin to bend your elbows, making small push-up-like movements, noticing how that feels on your wrists. Another stretch you can do is to sit up and pressing the tops of your hands together, make circles with your wrists. Maybe moving in one direction first, and then after a few breaths, switch directions, keeping a light pressure through the tops of the hands. Now this is one of my favorite wrist strengthening exercises. So you come back to that tabletop position, and then one hand at a time, you lift the crease of the wrist off the ground, putting more weight into your fingertips. Hold that for 5 seconds and then switch hands. So you're pressing so strongly into your fingertips that the wrist comes off the ground. Hold it for 5 seconds and switch, and just repeat this maybe 3 to 5 times on both sides. And then once you've done that on both sides, you can work up to lifting both wrist creases at the same time for about 5 seconds or so, really building strength in the wrists. I had a teacher who said if you practice this wrist strengthening exercise daily, then it can really help to remove any wrist pain you have in your practice. To intensify this wrist strengthening exercise, you can come up into a downward facing dog and repeat the same motions by lifting one wrist at a time first, holding for about 5 seconds, moving to the other side, and you can even lift both base of the wrists off the ground. You'll notice it's a bit harder in downward facing dog, so just be gentle with your wrists and only do what you can. I like to practice this wrist strengthening exercise daily. It's really helped me out a lot over time. So just take a couple more of those and maybe bicycle your legs, warm up in your downward facing dog. Then we're going to bend the knees, gaze forward, and come through into a seated position. Moving on to some core work now. We're first going to take Navasana boat pose. Holding here in boat pose, belly drawing in, chest lifted. Your legs can be bent or straight. We're going to do a few rounds of core work because a strong core really will help you hold your handstands and build the strength for them. From your boat pose, now lower down onto your back for Ardha Navasana or half boat, also called hollow body pose. Lift back up into Navasana, trying to keep length in the spine, and then lower back into Ardha Navasana. Belly drawing in towards the spine, and then lift back up into boat pose, Navasana. Lower down Ardha Navasana. Inhale, lift up Navasana, feeling your core engaging. Lower down into Ardha, and then you can even pick up the pace, moving double time. So lifting into boat, lowering down, lifting up and back down, up, down, up, down. Really building heat in that core, strengthening the body. A few more repetitions of this. Hold in Ardha Navasana, keeping your steady Ujjayi breath. To intensify, you can even lift your arms up and overhead, or just keep them by your sides. Release and lie down on your back. Maybe hug the knees into the chest, and then rock up and down on your spine, making your way through Chaturanga, lifting into upward facing dog, and then exhaling back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog, belly drawing in, back of the legs pressing towards the wall behind you. Shift forward into plank pose. Bend the elbows and slowly lower all the way down onto your stomach, moving into Shalabhasana locust pose. Keeping the tops of the hands down, create length through the top of the head all the way out through the toes, strengthening the back body, which is also a part of your core here. Make sure you're spiraling your inner thighs towards each other. And then move your hands into Shalabhasana B position with Chaturanga arms, elbows right over wrists, keeping the legs where they are. And release, gently lower down. Moving into Shalabhasana again, this time with the top of the head planted, Shalabhasana A. Trying not to clench the glutes, but more focusing on bringing the inner thighs towards each other and lengthening the body. Belly should be drawing in. Move into Shalabhasana B. Keeping the legs where they are. Now this time, press yourself into upward facing dog. And then exhale, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. Shifting forward into plank pose. We're going to hold here in plank, doing more core work. Make sure you're making a nice strong line through your body. Quadriceps engaged. Hands planted firmly. And then lift the right leg a couple inches off the ground, keeping your hips level. Lower the right leg down and lift the left leg up a couple inches, really working towards maintaining level hips in this plank position. If you need to, you can always lower down onto your knees and take a break. But moving on, we're going to tap our knees to the ground, lift the legs back up, still holding in plank. Feel the way lowering your knees down activates your core. A couple more repetitions here. Tap the knees down, lift the legs back up. Moving at your own pace. Tap the knees, lift back up. Now draw the right knee into the chest, tap the knee to the ground, and lift it back towards your chest, repeating on the left side. Moving to the right side, take this on both sides, moving again at your own pace. And then release back into downward facing dog. Phew. Regaining your steady breathing. Bend your knees, gaze forward, come through to seated. We're going to repeat this core sequence a couple more times. So drawing the knees towards the chest, move back into Navasana boat pose. Now you kind of know what's going to be coming, so you can prepare yourself mentally. Holding here in Navasana, belly drawing in, lengthen the spine. Maybe keeping the knees bent. Lower down Ardha Navasana. Holding here on this hollow body. Lift back up Navasana. Lower down Ardha. You can always take your hands behind your head or overhead to make it harder. Lift back up Navasana pose. Lower down Ardha Navasana. Maybe taking the arms overhead, holding this hollow body. Your lower spine is pressed firmly into the ground, core drawing towards the mat. Now release, hug the knees into the chest. Maybe rock a bit side to side. And then begin to rock up and down along the spine. And then shoot your legs back into Chaturanga. Move through Urdhva Mukha and exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Shift forward into a plank position, bend the elbows, lower all the way down onto your stomach for Shalabhasana. Top of the hands planted, lift the feet. Gazing towards the front of the mat, lengthen through the crown of your head and out through the toes. Breathing deeply here in Shalabhasana. Move into Shalabhasana B with Chaturanga arms. Trying to keep your elbows close to your body so they're not extending out towards the sides. And now rest. You can lay one cheek down on the mat or rest your chin on your arms. Lifting back up into Shalabhasana. So important to strengthen the back body. Move into Shalabhasana B. Wrists, elbows right over the wrists. And then press yourself into upward facing dog. And then back into downward facing dog. Shift forward into plank position, shoulders over the wrists. Strong plank position here. Maybe slightly rounding through the upper spine. Lift the right leg up a couple inches, level hips here. Switch legs, lifting the left leg up a few inches off the ground. Keeping your leg muscles engaged, the Uddiyana Bandha drawing in strongly. Now draw the right knee into the chest. Lower it down, tap the ground, lift it back up, and step it back. Take that on the left side. A few more repetitions of this, moving at your own pace, or you can just hold a plank position, resting when you need to. A few more here. Planking is one of the best ways to build strength for handstands. A couple more repetitions, and then press yourself back into downward facing dog. When you're ready, bend the knees, gaze forward, come through to seated. We'll take this core set again, move straight into Navasana boat pose. You should really be feeling it in your core by now. I know I definitely was. Building lots of strength here. Lower down Ardha Navasana. Lift back up Navasana. Lower down hollow body Ardha Navasana. Lift back up boat pose. Again, lower down Ardha Navasana. And now take it double time again, lifting up into boat, lowering down into Ardha. A few more repetitions, moving quicker. A couple more. You can do it. Breathe deeply. Lie down, hug the knees into the chest. Good work. Roll yourself up and back and move through your vinyasa. Inhale Urdhva Mukha and exhale Adho Mukha Svanasana. Shift forward plank position. Lower all the way down to your belly slowly. Moving into Shalabhasana A. Tops of the hands planted. You can experiment with bringing your big toes together, maybe moving into Shalabhasana B, feeling the back muscles engaged. Lower down and rest. Lift back up into Shalabhasana. Just make sure you're focused on lengthening. It doesn't matter how high you lift your chin or your chest. It just matters how much you lengthen. Move into Shalabhasana B. Now press yourself up Urdhva Mukha and exhale hips up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Shift forward, shoulders over wrists, moving into plank position. Belly drawing in strongly. Lift the right leg a couple inches off the ground. Switch legs, lift the left leg off. Now lower onto your forearms for forearm plank. Still keeping your body very stiff and very strong. Make sure your leg muscles are engaged to support your plank. Maybe lift the right foot a couple inches, keeping level hips. Switch legs, left leg lifts. Now plant the right hand, then the left. Lift yourself into a downward facing dog. And then you're going to come onto your knees. We're going to take our first handstand prep. So bring your sit bones back against the wall. Notice where your heels touch the ground, and that's where you're going to place your hands. So wherever the heel of your foot was, that's where you're going to put the heel of your hand. Line up your hands shoulder distance apart, fingers spread wide, and then walk your feet up the wall so you're creating an L position with your body. You want to make sure you're 90 degrees. So maybe if you have a friend or family member around, they can check you out and make sure you're at a 90-degree angle. And then to intensify this, maybe lift the right leg up and then alternate, lift the left leg up. So this gives you a good feel for handstands and can help you build strength if you don't feel ready to maybe take a full handstand. This is an exercise I really like to do. You can come out and take a little break and then move back into it again if you'd like, making sure your legs are 90 degrees and maybe even intensifying it by lifting one leg at a time. The placement of your hands is so important. You want them shoulder distance with your wrist creases parallel to the top of the mat. Come out of it and maybe stretch your wrists a bit. Give them a break. And our next exercise, you're going to come into a downward facing dog with your feet back by the wall and then begin to walk your feet up the wall and see if you can walk your hands back against the wall as well. So you're going to end up with your torso all the way up against the wall. And the wall's fully supporting you in this position. To get out, you can either cartwheel your legs out to the side or walk your hands out the same way you came in. They say that if you can hold this posture up against the wall for a minute straight, then you definitely have the strength to hold yourself in a handstand without the wall. So that's something you can practice at home. It can be kind of scary coming out of it, but I think the safest bet is just to walk out the same way you get in. Now, this time we're going to set up so that you're facing the wall. Make sure your hand placement is correct, and we're going to practice kicking one leg up at a time. So maybe first kick off with the right foot. And before you even hop up, make sure your shoulders are right over your wrists. And just take a few hops here. Just see how it feels. See how your body's feeling. If you're trying to catch your balance, then draw the hip bones towards the lower ribs, engaging the core so strongly, squeezing the glutes. And that'll really help you create a nice strong line. Switch legs now, and this time hop off, kicking off with your left foot. Take a few tries, just notice how your body's feeling. One side might be a little bit harder to kick off of. It's important to notice these imbalances in your body so that you can work to correct them. When you're done practicing those one leg kick-ups, rest in a child's pose, come back to your steady breathing. Now we're going to work on our tuck jumps. So when you catch your breath, tuck the toes, come to downward facing dog, draw the belly in, bend the knees, and then you're going to hop the hips over the shoulders, trying to kick your heels towards your butt. So take this a few times. Tuck jumps are one of my favorite things to work on because once you figure out the control in a tuck jump, you can really move your legs any way you want to in a handstand. So we're going to take an exercise where you do 10 tuck jumps in a row, moving as fast as you can, maybe touching the wall with your feet, lowering back down, and just move. Try to get 10 in a row. It'll really get your heart rate up. Leslie, my teacher, likes to call this the pizza series. because you definitely deserve pizza after you do this. Move at your own pace, but just try to get 10 tuck jumps in a row. Rest in child's pose when you're done and come back to your steady breathing. The thing about tuck jumps is once you figure out the amount of momentum you need to hop up with, that's the amount of momentum you'll need to stop yourself. So practicing the pizza series or just your tuck jumps will really help you learn how much power you need to jump up so that you don't use too much and always fall over. But it's just something to work on. Maybe take a couple more tuck jumps here after you rest in your child's pose. Just trying to hop your hips over your shoulders, belly drawing in, and then lengthen your spine. Come to Ardha Uttanasana and exhale into a forward fold. Inhale, rise up, arms overhead, and then exhale into Tadasana mountain pose. We're going to do some sun salutations, throwing some handstands into the practice. So do what you can and just have fun. So inhale, arms up and overhead, and then exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Inhale and lengthen, and then exhale, plant the hands, take a tuck jump up, and then see if you can shoot your legs into Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha, and then exhale, lift the hips up and back, Adho Mukha Svanasana. So these handstands are optional. It's fun to throw in handstands in the sun salutations, but just do what you can. Now from downward facing dog, bend the knees, draw the belly in, tuck jump up, and then lower your hands to the front of the mat. Inhale, lengthen, and exhale, fold into it. Inhale, rise up, arms overhead, and then exhale into Samasthiti. We'll do that again. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, fold forward, navel drawing in. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, plant the hands, bend the knees, and tuck jump up. Try to catch your balance. Maybe shoot back Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha, and exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Regain your steady breathing. You can always rest in child's pose. Now gaze forward, in between your thumbs, bend the knees, tuck jump up, catch your balance, maybe extend the legs, and then lower the feet as soft as you can to the front of the mat. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana, and exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise up, arms overhead, and exhale, Samasthiti. Again, Surya Namaskar A. Inhale up, exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, plant the hands. Bend the knees, tuck jump up, maybe catch your balance, and then lower down Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Steady breathing. Pressing the backs of your legs towards the wall behind you. Gaze forward in between your thumbs, bend the knees, belly in strongly, tuck jump up, lower down, feet to the top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, fold. Inhale, arms overhead, exhale, Samasthiti. Moving into Surya Namaskar B with some handstands. Just have fun with it. Handstands are optional. Bend the knees into chair pose. And then fold forward and tuck jump up. Plant the hands, tuck jumping straight from chair pose. Lower down Chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. And exhale, Adho Mukha. Inhale, step the right foot in between the hands. Warrior 1. Virabhadrasana A. And then plant the hands, and kicking off with your right foot, Do a little kick up into handstand and then move through chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha, and exhale, Adho Mukha. Inhale, left foot forward, warrior one. Front heel lined up with back heel, hips parallel to the front of the mat. Lower the hands down and then kick off with the left foot, trying to catch your balance, and then lower down chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, and exhale, downward facing dog. Catch your steady breath. We're going to take a couple more Surya Namaskar Bs like this, adding these extra handstands in. Gaze forward in between your thumbs. Bend the knees, belly in. Hop up, maybe catch your balance. Land at the top of the mat. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, deep bend in the knees, Utkatasana chair pose. And exhale, Samasthiti. Again, Surya B, deep bend in the knees. And then plant the hands and immediately tuck jump up, maybe catching your balance. Belly drawing in, and then lower down, chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha. Exhale, hips up and back, Adho Mukha. Step the right foot in between the hands, warrior one, Virabhadrasana A. Your front knee is right over the ankle. Plant the hands, kick off of your right foot, coming into a handstand. Move through chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog, belly drawing in. Step the left foot in between the hands. Inhale, warrior one. Maybe gazing in between your thumbs. Plant the hands shoulder distance apart. Kick off of your left foot. Catch your balance. And move into chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing. And exhale, downward facing. Steady breathing. It's okay if you don't catch the balance every time. And that's why it can be helpful to have a wall in front of you too. Bend the knees now, gaze in between the thumbs, and inhale, tuck jump up, maybe catch your balance. And exhale, lower your hands top of the mat. Exhale, fold, and then inhale, deep bend in the knees, chair pose. Exhale into Samasthiti. One more of these, deep bend in the knees, Utkatasana, belly drawing in. Exhale, plant the hands, tuck jump up, hands standing here, and then lower the legs, see if you can land in chaturanga. Inhaling, upward facing dog, and exhaling, downward facing dog. Step the right foot in between the hands, warrior one on the inhale. Exhale, plant the hands, kick off of the right foot. Maybe catch your balance. Move through chaturanga. Inhale up, exhale back. Inhale, left foot in between the hands now, warrior one. Exhale, plant the hands, kick up into handstand off the left foot. Move through chaturanga. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha, and exhale, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Again, steady breathing, inhales as long as the exhales. Maybe resting in child's pose if you need to. Gaze towards the thumbs, bend the knees, belly in, tuck jump up. Try to catch your balance. Lower the feet by your hands. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, bend the knees, Utkatasana. Exhale, Samasthiti. From here, step the left leg back and move into Trikonasana triangle pose, facing the back of your mat. You can have your First 2 fingers and thumb around the big toe, or maybe have your hand on your shin, maybe a block. And if your neck feels good, gaze up towards the extended hand. We'll take a few standing poses, catch our breath. Come up to a T, and then move into Trikonasana on the other side, facing the front of your mat. Big fingers and thumb around your right big toe. Both legs are straight, and your spine is parallel to the ground. Inhale up to a T position, turn towards the left leg, and move into Pavrita Trikonasana, twisted triangle pose. Right hand on the outside of the left foot, left arm extended. Maybe draw the left hip back, the right hip forward, leveling off the hips. And maybe turning your drishti up towards the extended hand. Lower your hands down to the mat, and for fun, kick up into a handstand. Maybe catching your balance here. Again, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the core so strongly. That's going to help you balance the most. Slowly lower down. Inhale up to a T, and then take Revolved Pavrita Trikonasana on the other side. This time your left hand is on the outer edge of the right foot, and your right hand is extended up, maybe gazing towards the extended hand. Right hip drawing back, left hip drawing forward, and make sure there's weight in the outer edge of the back foot. Now again, you can kick off with your right foot, trying to catch your balance in a handstand. Maybe take a couple kicks up. Lower down, and then inhale, lengthen in Ardha Uttanasana, and then exhale, fold forward into Uttanasana. Maybe grasp opposite elbows, belly drawing in, and sway side to side. Then you can plant the hands, and we're going to take some tuck jumps. So play around with it, take as many as you'd like, maybe 1, maybe 5. Trying to get the feel of these tuck jumps, catching your balance. And if you feel ambitious, you can take the pizza series again with me, taking 10 tuck jumps in a row, tapping the feet against the wall, lower to the ground, and immediately jumping back up. This is completely optional, but it does help you build strength and definitely gets your heart rate going. Maybe just try to get 5. Just see what you can do today. And when you're done tuck jumping, just take a rest in child's pose. Connecting to your steady breathing. Handstanding is a lot of work. It uses almost every muscle in the body. It can be a great way to warm up the full body, but it can also tire you out. So just listen to your body and do what you can. Maybe make your way into a downward facing dog. You have the option to maybe take a couple more tuck jumps, see if you can maybe catch your balance in a handstand. Hold it there. When you're tuck jumping, you really want to, when you're first learning, try to get your heels towards your glutes when you jump up. And keep your belly drawing in. When you're done trying these tuck jumps again, just lower down onto your mat, onto your back, and then we'll take a bridge pose, winding the practice down. Bridge pose is a great way to kind of counter your handstands. So you want your feet hip distance apart, weight in the heels, lifting the hips up, keeping the chin away from the chest. If you want to, lift the right leg up, cross it on top of the left knee, keeping the right foot flexed. And then lower the hips down. Maybe thread the needle, bringing the right arm and the left arm. Interlace your fingers on the left shin. Getting a nice hip stretch. And then keeping your legs in the same position, you can drop your knees over to the left side, taking a gentle spinal twist. You can extend your right arm out to the side. And if your neck feels good, take your gaze over the right shoulder. Winding down our practice here, we did a lot of handstands. Bring your knees back to center. Maybe hug the knees into the chest. Plant the heels on the ground and lift back into a bridge pose. This time lift the left leg up. Cross the left ankle on top of the right knee, keeping the left foot flexed. And then lower the hips down, moving into thread the needle. Stretching out the left hip. Your lower back pressed against the ground, navel drawing in. Gently drop your knees over to the right side for a supine twist. Left arm can be extended out. Gaze up towards the ceiling or over your left shoulder. Inhale, come back to center. Hug the knees into the chest. Move any way you'd like, gently making your way into Shavasana, our final resting pose, soaking in the benefits of the practice. If you are new to handstands, I just want you to know that they're not easy and it does take a lot of practice. And just remember to not get discouraged. The biggest things that have helped me are actually a lot of the things we did in this class, the core work, the few handstands against the wall, things like that. So just give your body time and remember practice is what's really going to help you. So now I'll let you rest in your Shavasana. Begin to bring your breath back to your body. Maybe making small movements with your wrists and your ankles. Maybe stretching your arms up and overhead. Waking the body up gently from Shavasana. You could hug the knees into the chest. Rock side to side. Do whatever feels good at this moment. Making your way up into a seated position. Inhale, hands to heart center. Thank you so much for taking the time to practice with me today. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. If you're more on the shy or introverted side of life like I am, then you might find this video about 7 ways to converse with anyone helpful. Even if you're not shy, this is a great video to help you think of some things to say to the people around you to get to know them better.